Good morning, everybody. Mark Finan here in the Home Weather Office on this Wednesday morning. It is now the 15th day of January 2025, and this is the morning briefing coming to you from the Home Weather Office. And the Home Weather Office has blue sky, bright sunny day. Another cold morning, but it's going to be a comfortable afternoon with sunshine and generally light winds. And this dry pattern is going to continue for a while. I'll talk about that. We'll talk about what's going to be happening around the country as they are expecting another surge of very cold air over the next 7 days. I'll show you that. But also, I want to start this morning with kind of an update on what I was talking about yesterday. Yesterday, I started with showing you the 8-station index. I was trying to explain the pauses that we do regularly get during the course of the rain season. So I showed you the 8-station index, which covers basically all of the watershed of the Sacramento River. So it goes from the American River all the way up through the Yuba, the Feather, and up to the northern Sacramento River. And so it's a way of gauging how much water is going to be coming down into the Sacramento River basin. And somebody asked, well, what about the Southern Sierra? Well, there is an index for that. And so let me show you that. This is the 5-station index, and this is for the San Joaquin Basin. And on the map, there are 5 spots that they use here, from Calaveras Big Trees down through Yosemite and down to Huntington Lake. And this chart looks similar to the one that we showed yesterday. This is the average, the 1991 to 2020 average, which for this area is just under 40 inches. And this shows also previous years in here. And this blue line is where we are this year. And as you can see, well below average, whereas the 8-station index was above average, although slightly. And as you can see, here is the pause we are in now, that flat line right there. So if you do want to check that out, if you do a Google search for 5-station index, it'll take you to CDEC, and that's where you can check out the how the precipitation is going for the San Joaquin basin. It's interesting that the 22-23 season was not the wettest. I really thought it would be a little bit higher than that. I thought it was wetter than 16-17, but whatever. Either way, you can check that out and see how the San Joaquin Basin is going. All right, let's take a look at the satellite. And as you can see this morning, we do have clear skies once again in California. Nice to see that in Southern California, where we will be seeing some gusty winds today in Ventura County and parts of LA County, that as of this morning, we don't see any big smoke plumes. You do see that it is clear up and down the valley. We do have snow-capped Sierra, but you don't even see much in the way of a marine layer on the coast, indicating that we still have offshore flow and very dry air. So yeah, our very dry January does continue. So far, downtown Sacramento has picked up 0.3 inches, a third of an inch of rain so far in the month of January, which on average is our wettest month, averaging about 4 inches of rain. As I've been saying, I do think we'll likely go through the rest of this month dry, maybe not completely dry. We may see, something that would give us, a quarter of an inch of rain, but I don't see anything at this point that is going to give us average rainfall or even close to average rainfall for the month of January. And I just have this hunch that somewhere around the middle part of February, we'll see this pattern change again. And so we'll see something from February through March and into early April that will likely get, be our season. But right now, we are just in a really dry pattern, and it's because of this pattern right here. So this is our 500 millibar chart, and you can see the big ridge here. There is a trough, a big blow off the coast, but it's really this big ridge that is dominating everything. So any activity off the Pacific is very, very weak, and we continue with this north flow. Even if the ridge gets pushed a little bit offshore, all that does is, it allows colder air to drop just to our east, like here. Another little meandering low that doesn't do anything for us. And then as we go through the next few days beyond that, the ridge builds once again. What time frame are we up to? This is all the way up to a week out. So we still have the ridge here and stronger than ever right here. I guess the good news here about this sort of ridging with this very dry air and this offshore pattern is that it does minimize the fog. And some of you may be asking, well, why aren't we getting fog? It's because we've had some north winds and it really dries the air out. But quite often what happens when you get the big ridge at this time of year, if you don't have it, if it's not preceded by gusty north winds, what you will often see is a big fog pattern if you don't have anything in the way of storminess coming our way and wind. But this year we've had enough offshore flow to dry the air out, and that means that you just don't get much in the way of fog. But yeah, as we go through, this is, let's see what time frame we're up to here. This is the 25th. Yeah, the models have been hinting that maybe something around the 25th or 26th could bring us something, but that's nothing to write home about. But perhaps there would be a shower then. But if somebody says, oh, it's going to rain, next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend in 10, 11 days, right now, it just doesn't look all that impressive. All right, so let's take a look across the country here. Let me move this a little bit. There we go. Expand that a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to look across the country because we are going to be seeing another surge of cold air. And as I've been showing you, I want you to pay attention to this purplish line here. That is the 540 thickness line. And you can think about that as the boundary between warmer air and colder air. And east of the Rockies, we use that as a rough outline of where the rain-snow line is going to be. And that's that's this morning. Look at how dry it is across the country this morning. As we go through the next couple of days, it stays dry, and the 540 line actually goes all the way up into the Dakotas, although it stays very cold in the areas around the Great Lakes and all the way down into the Carolinas. And then look at this nice little ridge right in here. This is Friday. So we have relatively warm air in the central part of the country, also relatively dry, but it's this low here that is going to change things as we head into the weekend and next week. And just watch how the 540 line will plunge. This is Friday morning. That's in South Dakota. And by the time we get into Sunday, that 540 line is all the way down into Texas. So cold air, but again, very dry, cold enough that you'll see some lake effect snow, and just really, really cold this weekend in areas like Minnesota and the Great Lakes and the Dakotas, just the brutal cold. Perhaps a little something developing here on that boundary between the warm air and cold air on the East Coast. This is on Sunday night into Monday. But you'll see how most of the country is just cold and dry with no big storms. But boy, that cold dip right here, that lasts. This is a week from now that you have the 540 thickness line all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Southern Florida is okay, but the Panhandle is quite cold. And I think this is going to continue to make national news. And then another surge of cold air just kind of keeps things in place, and then you finally get a storm here, and that would race up the East Coast, but this is out into Fantasyland. That's on the 25th, and yeah, finally that 540 thickness line starts to go up a little bit farther to the north. But all in all, just a pretty dry pattern across the country, but very cold, and certainly dry for California. It isn't going to be wet anytime soon, so we go through the rest of this week, this weekend, and likely all of next week without anything in the way of rain or snow for the Sierra, and we need it. The Northern Sierra is still kind of hanging on, doing okay, not too far from average for this time of year, but we really do need to get the rain and snow season going again, and we'll likely, with any luck, get another 6 to 8 week stretch that we'll see, the bulk of our precipitation. And right now, it looks as though it may have to hold off until early to mid-February before it starts and then lasts into March. If that doesn't happen, then this is going to be a really bad year. That's just the way it goes. I do have something else I want to talk about this morning, a little announcement here from the Home Weather Office. Let me get this centered up so you can see it. Got a little event coming up. As some of you know, I do some photography. And the folks at David Gerard Vineyards were kind enough to hold this little talk. We're going to do this on February 22nd from 2 to 5 in the afternoon. And I'll be showing and talking about some of my photography. And so if you can make it, I'll put a link to how you can do this. I'll put that in the description about how you can join us on that afternoon. So Saturday, February 22nd from 2 to 5, You'll see my photos. These are some that will be shown, Yosemite and some vineyard shots, as well as I've got, let's see, I think I'm going to have a shot from Ireland, some from France, some from the Great American Road Trip. So yeah, so if you can, join me and others on Saturday, February 22nd from 2 to 5. We'll be talking a little bit about photography, and I'll also probably talk about some weather too. And again, there'll be a link to how you can, with all the details on that, in the description. So that's everything I've got for you this morning. Make it a great day. I'll talk with you later.